Welcome to our deep dive on becoming a social work lecturer. We're going to be using info from RoleCatcher.
Uh-huh.
It's a platform with tons of career stuff
Sure.
and AI tools.
Okay.
But this isn't just about throwing info at you. It's
Oh.
about really figuring out how you can stand out in that interview.
Yeah, and what's really cool about this role is it's like this bridge
Oh, yeah.
between actual social work and like the academic world.
Right.
So you're not just out there practicing,
Mm-hmm.
You're actually like shaping the future of the field by teaching the next generation.
I love that. And RoleCatcher's career guide really highlights how you're kind of doing both at the same time.
Oh, for sure.
You could be doing counseling with someone one-on-one, and then the next hour, you're leading a seminar
Exactly.
on social welfare policy or something.
And the demand for good social workers is just going up.
That makes sense.
Yeah, RoleCatcher actually projects an 11% job growth rate over the next few years.
Wow.
Which is way higher than average.
Yeah, that's huge.
And it's probably because of things like, we have an aging population and
Right.
more people are aware of mental health and substance abuse issues.
Okay, so let's get into the interview itself.
Okay.
Because RoleCatcher found these 8 common questions that pop up a lot in these interviews.
Yeah.
And they also gave us some insights into what the interviewers are looking for
Uh-huh.
with each one.
Right.
So shall we start with a classic?
Sure.
How did you become interested in social work education?
Oh, yeah. That one seems simple.
Right, but I feel like there's got to be more to it than just saying
Oh, yeah.
I like helping people.
Definitely. Yeah, they want more than that.
So what are they really trying to find out with that question?
Well, they want, like, your origin story. Like the moment you were like, yeah, this is what I meant to do, you know?
Okay.
They want to see if your personal values like match up with social work's mission
Right.
and even more specifically with their program's goals.
So it's about connecting your story to the bigger picture. What kind of story would really hit the mark here?
Think about experiences that shaped how you see social justice, inequality, or even like the power of just connecting with other humans.
Right.
Maybe it was volunteering or something that happened to you personally, or even like a book or movie that opened your eyes to social issues.
Would they be looking for any specific qualities or skills in your story?
Oh, for sure. They want to see empathy,
Uh-huh.
like a commitment to social justice,
Right.
willingness to challenge the status quo.
So they might even ask follow-up questions like,
Oh, yeah.
what specific aspects of social work education drew you in?
Yeah. Or how has your personal experience shaped your teaching philosophy?
And that's where RoleCatcher's AI tools come in.
Oh, yeah.
It can look at the job description and pick out keywords that are related to the institution's values and priorities.
Right. So if the job description is all about community engagement,
Okay.
you'd want to talk about your work with community organizations or how well you understand grassroots movements.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let's move on to another one that could be tricky.
Okay.
How do you incorporate diversity and cultural competency into your teaching?
Oh, it's a big one these days.
Right, and it feels super important in the world they live in now.
Totally. They want to see that you really get diversity.
Yeah.
And it's not just something you say you care about.
Right.
Like you understand how complex it is and how it affects the classroom.
So it's about more than just saying, I value diversity.
Right.
What are some examples that really show you understand that?
Think about how you teach. Do you use diverse case studies?
Okay.
Do you bring in perspectives from different cultures?
Yeah.
Theoretical frameworks?
Yep.
Have you come up with ways to have those tough conversations about race, gender, social class, in the classroom?
I'm seeing a pattern here. It's not just about what you know.
Yeah,
It's how you use that knowledge in real situations.
exactly.
What follow-up questions could they ask to dig deeper?
They might ask, can you describe a time you had to deal with a student's comment that was culturally insensitive? Or how do you make sure your curriculum is inclusive and represents all the different student experiences?
Those are tough questions, but important ones.
Definitely.
And again, RoleCatcher's AI can be so helpful here.
Oh, for sure.
It can look at the demographics of the students and the community the school serves and help you tailor your answer to their specific context.
Right. So if the school is in a place with a lot of immigrants,
Okay.
you might want to highlight your experience working with newcomers
Yeah.
or your knowledge of counseling techniques that are culturally sensitive.
All right, let's tackle another big one. How do you stay current with developments in the social work field?
Oh, that's a good one.
This is a field that's always changing. So
yeah.
I imagine it's important to show you're not stuck in the past.
Definitely. They're looking for someone who's engaged with the latest research,
Uh-huh.
emerging trends, best practices. It's all about showing you're committed to lifelong learning.
So how do we prove we're not just coasting on what we learned in grad school?
Good question.
What are some concrete examples we could give?
Think about professional development stuff.
Okay.
Like, have you been to any conferences or workshops lately?
Yeah.
Do you subscribe to any journals or online publications? Are you a member of any professional organizations? Those all show you're staying on top of things.
And could they ask follow-up questions to see how deep our knowledge goes?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Good.
They might ask, like, what are some of the biggest challenges social work faces today? Or how do you see technology changing the profession in the future?
So we need to be able to connect our professional development to the bigger trends shaping the field.
Exactly. And once again, RoleCatcher can help you out here.
Oh, really?
It can identify like the top researchers' publications conferences,
Wow.
all related to whatever specific area of social work the school focuses on.
It's like having a personal research assistant. Okay, let's move on to a question that gets to the heart of being a lecturer.
Okay.
How do you balance teaching research and service in your role as the social work educator?
Oh, that's the juggling act everyone talks about.
Right, it sounds like a lot.
It can be. This question is all about seeing how well you manage your time,
Okay.
how you prioritize things,
Yeah.
and if you get the demands of academia.
So how do we convince them we can handle it all without burning out?
Be honest and realistic.
Okay.
Talk about how you stay organized, how you set boundaries,
Ah.
how you manage when a lot of things are demanding your attention.
Mm-hmm.
You could even mention tools you use like planners or software
Right.
and highlight how well you work both on your own and as part of a team.
Would they probably want to know how we decide what to focus on first?
Oh, yeah. They might ask, how do you choose which research projects to pursue?
Okay.
Or what are your strategies for balancing teaching prep with service commitments?
So it's not just about our skills, but how we make decisions
Yeah.
and navigate tricky situations.
And RoleCatcher can help you tailor your answer to each school.
Amazing.
It can check out their website and faculty profiles
Oh,
to figure out if they put more emphasis on teaching research or service.
interesting.
Like if it's a big research university, you'll want to highlight your research experience and publications.
It's like having a custom-made suit for each interview.
Exactly.
I love it.
So are you ready for some more of these questions?
Absolutely. Bring them on.
Let's get back to those interview questions. We've done some of the tougher ones, but there are a few more that usually pop up.
Okay, what's next?
How about this one? How do you engage students in the learning process and promote active learning?
Okay.
This is where they really want to see your teaching philosophy. Like they want to know you're not just lecturing at students,
Right.
but creating a dynamic learning environment.
So going beyond just standing there and talking?
Exactly what kind of techniques would really impress them?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Think interactive things like small group discussions, case studies, debates, role-playing, even using technology in cool ways.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about getting students actively involved.
Right, not just passively taking in info.
Exactly. And they'll probably ask follow-up questions to see if you can give specific examples.
Like, can you describe an activity you've used to get students more involved?
Exactly. Or how do you assess student participation and engagement in your classes?
So it's good to have some go-to activities we can describe in detail.
Absolutely. And don't forget, RoleCatcher can help you tailor your examples to the specific school.
Oh, right.
If their website talks about innovative teaching methods
Ah,
or a commitment to student-centered learning, you can match your answers to that.
that makes sense.
Oh.
Let's talk about another question that's relevant pretty much everywhere these days.
Okay.
How do you incorporate technology into your teaching?
Yeah, it seems like a given in today's world.
Right.
But it's not enough to just say you use PowerPoint or online quizzes.
I see what you mean.
They want to see that you're using technology in a way that actually enhances the learning.
Right, so we need to go beyond just swapping a whiteboard for a slideshow.
Exactly. What are some examples that would show a deeper level of integration?
Good question.
Think about using tech for things like collaboration, creating simulations,
Right.
or giving students access to real-world data.
Right.
You might mention online platforms for group projects, virtual field trips,
I like that.
or even using social media for class discussions.
Those are really interesting ideas.
And you can bet they'll ask you to give specific examples of how you've used these things before.
Like, can you tell us about a time you used technology to overcome a specific learning challenge in your class?
Yeah, or how do you ensure that your use of technology is accessible to all students?
Right, because not everyone has the same access.
Exactly. It's not just about being tech savvy, but using it in a way that makes sense for teaching.
That's a really good point.
Mm.
Okay, this next question is one that I think makes a lot of people nervous.
Oh, I know which one you mean.
Can you describe a time when you had to handle a difficult student or classroom situation?
Oh, yeah. Everyone dreads that one.
Right, so how do we approach this without sounding like we're either defensive or incompetent?
Good question. What kind of situation should we choose to share?
Yeah.
Pick one that shows you can stay calm, assess the situation, and take the right steps.
Okay.
It could be anything, a disruptive student, a heated debate, even a personal crisis that affected the class.
Should we focus on how it turned out?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
What did you do to address the issue?
Hmm.
How did you communicate with the student or students involved?
Yeah.
What was the resolution, and what did you learn from it?
I can see how this question can really reveal a lot about our conflict resolution skills.
For sure, and they might ask follow-up questions like, what resources or support systems did you use?
Right.
Or how would you handle a similar situation differently in the future?
Okay, that makes sense. I'm feeling more prepared for these tougher questions.
Me too. Okay, let's move on to the last question in this set.
Okay.
How do you assess student learning and provide feedback on their progress?
That seems pretty straightforward, but I bet there's more to it.
Oh, definitely. This question lets you show that you understand assessment methods,
Uh-huh.
your commitment to student growth, and your ability to give good constructive feedback.
So it's about more than just grading papers and giving exams.
Exactly. What are some things we could highlight to show a more holistic approach?
That's a good question.
Talk about the different types of assessments you use, from traditional tests and essays to more creative projects.
Right.
Explain how you give feedback that's specific and actionable,
Yeah.
and how you use assessments to inform your teaching and adapt to different learning styles.
They might ask us to talk about specific strategies or how we handle grading and giving feedback.
Absolutely. They might ask, how do you make sure your assessments match the learning objectives?
Okay.
Or what strategies do you use to give feedback that's both encouraging and constructive?
These are all great points.
Yeah.
I'm really starting to see how each question is designed to assess not just what we know, but also our skills experience and overall approach to teaching.
Exactly. And remember, you can use RoleCatcher's AI feedback to practice your answers and get personalized tips.
Right. It's like having a personal coach.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot with interview questions, but what about the bigger picture?
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Are there any general tips that can help us really stand out in the interview?
Absolutely. Besides prepping for specific questions, there are a few key things to remember.
Oh, like what?
It's all about being genuine and showing your enthusiasm, you know?
Right, not just saying the right words.
Exactly. Let your passion for social work and teaching really shine through.
So it's not about putting on an act.
No interviewers can tell when someone's being fake.
Yeah.
They want the real, someone who's knowledgeable and compassionate and truly dedicated to making a difference.
So how can we convey those qualities well?
It's a mix of what you say and how you say it.
Okay.
Make eye contact, sit up straight, project your voice.
You're right.
And don't forget to smile.
Yeah, smiling helps.
It shows confidence and that you're approachable.
Those are good reminders. Sometimes I get so focused on the content that I forget about body language.
It happens. And don't forget to really listen to their questions and answer thoughtfully.
Wow.
Don't rush your answers. Take a moment to collect your thoughts before you speak.
That's such good advice. I tend to ramble when I'm nervous.
It's natural to be nervous, but remember that interviewers are just people. Yeah. They're passionate about their program and want to find the best person for the job.
That's a good way to look at it.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about what happens after the interview.
Right.
Is it just a waiting game, or are there things we can do?
A good thank you note can go a long way.
Oh, yeah.
It shows you're still interested and lets you highlight key points from the interview.
Should we send a handwritten note, or is email okay?
Email's fine, especially for academia,
I
but
get
make sure your message gets to them quickly.
What should we include in the thank you note?
Keep it short and professional. Thank them for their time. Say you're excited about the position.
Yeah.
And mention something specific you learned or that stood out to you during the interview.
Okay, good tips. Is it all right to follow up if we haven't heard back after a while?
Yeah, it's totally fine to send a polite follow-up email maybe a week or two later,
Okay.
just to ask about the timeline for their decision.
Got it.
But don't be pushy.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a turnoff.
And remember, even if you don't get this specific job, every interview is a chance to learn and grow.
That's a good point. It's easy to get discouraged, but it's important to see the bigger picture.
Exactly. Speaking of growth, we haven't really talked about what happens once you land the job.
Right. What can help new lecturers thrive?
Professional organizations are amazing resources.
Like what?
The National Association of Social Workers,
Okay.
the Council on Social Work Education,
Mhm.
the Association for Community Organization and Social Administration.
Wow, that's a lot.
They all offer networking, continuing education, and resources for educators.
What about research databases or journals, specifically for social work education?
Oh yeah, there are some great ones.
Which ones would you recommend?
The Journal of Social Work Education,
Okay,
Social Work and Child Welfare.
got it.
Those are all top-notch publications that can keep you up to date.
This has been so insightful. We've covered so much,
Yeah.
from understanding this unique role to nailing the interview questions, and even what to do after the interview.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI tools can help you every step of the way.
Right. It's like having a virtual coach in your corner.
Exactly.
But beyond the tools, I think the biggest takeaway is to be yourself.
Absolutely.
Show your passion and see the interview as a conversation, not an interrogation.
Well said. The future of social work education needs passionate people like you.
That's true.
So go out there, ace those interviews, and make a difference for the next generation.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into becoming a social work lecturer.
It was my pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another exciting exploration of careers and knowledge.